Hi, I'm Threadworthy, and I'm coming to you to share about a series that I'm a part of called I'm Not Okay, Why? Where I'm sitting down with this wonderful radio personality in Atlanta, Coach Debb, to talk about the Heritage Foundation's publication called Mandate for Leadership, um, which provides guidance to the next conservative administration elected on policy recommendations, government restructuring, reclassification of government employees, how certain government departments will be downgraded or removed altogether, as well as nationwide policy applications they hope to see, like a ban on reproductive health needs, as well as other immigration, what they deem immigration reform, and a few other items as well. I'm really, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm an expert on Project 2025. And I am clearly understanding the full breadth of the policy recommendations by the Heritage Foundation, as well as other coalitions like the Justice Project, things like that. I think America for Freedom, a few other groups. I'm not here to tout that I'm an expert. I'm here to tout what I'm seeing, what I'm observing, what I'm witnessing, and why it's important. And especially as someone who went to school with one of the leaders of thought in that publication, and just knowing how tenacious that individual is. These policy recommendations are absolutely a serious matter and would uproot what we already know to be government. Now, I also want to make clear that I am not saying government is perfect. There is definitely room for reform. There's definitely room for us as a collective to determine better and to have our voices shared more frequently on what we would like to see federal government do for us. I understand that there is also local state government too. My recommendation is always be how can we get them to work in tandem, as well as understanding that like big scale infrastructure projects of interconnection of communities like transportation, roads, like schools, making sure that there's a unified school curriculum, that all people are receiving a valid and deep curriculum of education as principles of our country, for the most part, were founded on. There's an asterisk on that. But as well as the idea of if you think your taxes are expensive now, it's easier to collect taxes across 325 million people versus across like a community of 10,000, 20,000, what have you. Um, as many things in life, I think the solution is both and. So I'm getting on here to introduce myself as Threadworthy, as a person. I've graduated not only from two of the top universities in the country, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have attended there. As a policy degree holder, I love that I have the opportunity to unpack policy recommendations, how they would fit and maybe not fit so well, um, as well as just understanding as a Black woman with a disability how important policy decisions really affect folks in these communities, in these circles, and how to not take for granted the cause to dismantle and unravel the rights that I know my ancestors fought for, and even my grandparents and parents were a part of the evolution of, right? Not seeing the stuff step back. So, to bring it on home, one thing I wanted to do, in addition to introducing myself, yes, I am Threadworthy. I'm glad you're here. I'm also wanting to share. I think what we have is a misconception of government, because frequently the media presents government as like the legislation, the justice system, like Supreme Court justices and their rulings, because their rulings do affect people a lot. But also your representative and your senator, as well as who's president, is who we see. What we don't see is the hundreds of thousands of people who work in different executive branch departments like Department of Justice, Department of Labor, Department of Health and Human Services, HUD, transportation, education, Homeland Security, thousands upon thousands of people who go into the office and work, because the work of providing services, casework, resources to a people is like any other organizational business. We need strong workers who have the ability to come through and show up independent of which administration's in charge. And we frequently think, oh, the government's trying to control us, that we're thinking of the legislative branch, who is like providing laws if they could get past the Senate. And that's a topic for another day. But we're not talking about like the little things, like who is receiving your taxes and making sure you get that refund? Who is processing the order of casework to receive applications, whether it's civil rights complaints all the way to Social Security applications? Um, there's so many levels to this. And what I don't want us to do is conflate government as how it's portrayed in the media to the reality and logistics of running a nation, and what the recommendations of Project 2025, like impoundment and Schedule F, which is talking about reclassifying merit based employees to be political appointees, so people that we rely on to do processing and development and modernization and all levels of provision for us as United States inhabitants. I'm gonna say inhabitants, because we all on this land deserve protection, right? We're here. We should all be safe. We should all be comfortable. That's my perspective. Um, But the piece to bring it on home is, what we don't want to do is conflate this idea of dismantling big government versus what does it mean to actually meet the needs of the people logistically, the unsexy stuff, the hands to the keyboard, all the meetings, all the casework and tracking, all the forms being filled, all the paperwork being sent and processed, all the reports to Congress on how different facets of departments are performing, all these pieces. We need to understand that what we don't want to do is also go backwards or privatize completely either. We love a public private partnership. That is currently what a lot of these departments do. Um, but some of the policy recommendations by Project 2025, by the Heritage Foundation, what we're hearing is even dismantling the logistics piece. And I'm hoping in these shares of the series of I'm Not Okay Why and our discussions on Project 2025, no matter how you feel about different administrations, I think we as a people who live on this land deserve the protections of the logistics of the federal government, and how much harm could come, as we even got a taste with the Supreme Court ruling on regulations. How much harm could happen with some of these dismantlings? Not putting this as a spirit of fear. Like many things, things can evolve, change, grow, be dismantled, or rebuilt and reformed, but it will make things harder. And just like it took, I want to say, the time frame between Plessy versus Ferguson, which was a Supreme Court ruling in the early 1900s, to Brown versus Board of Education, that was almost 55 years. A lot can happen, as we see, especially my generation of millennials. A lot can happen in 50 years. So I hope you have the opportunity to tune in with us. I hope you always do me search over research, as Consciously of TikTok and Instagram fame would say. Do your research, do your readings. I'm not here to be like your opinion. No, no, it's yours. Do the research. It's okay. Um, that's what I wanted to share.